All right, so today's video is going to be about my favorite albums in my record collection. Okay, so these are not in any particular order. They're not, oh, I went to the store and I bought these brand new. Every single one of these are thrifted, they're secondhand. Some of them I got from the Salvation Army. Some of them I got from some antique stores. And then a couple of them I did get at the, what do you call it, actual used record store, right? So this is, someone had recommended that I do a video and talk about my record collection. So this is not all of them. This is maybe about a third of my record collection. And of course, if I did every single one of my records, it would take way too long to do a video. So I just kind of wanted to blow through some of these to give people an idea of my musical tastes. Your musical tastes, of course, can be completely different from mine, and that's totally cool. But what I want to hear in the comments from you, my fellow viewers, is what do you have? Albums? Do you have a stereo? Do you have a record player? What do you have? I, of course, have a Fluence RT81 turntable, and then I have a pair of Klipsch speakers. And I think that setup cost me around $500. And do I love it? Yes, I do. I haven't found a vintage stereo system that I want yet. And of course, for those of you that grew up in the 70s and the 80s like I did, even, 60s probably, the speakers back then were the big speakers, right? And when you turn that music up, you could literally pretty much blow yourself into the next room. And that's what I like, even though I'm not 20 years old anymore. I still like it really, really loud. And of course, I'm in the country, so I can turn it up and have it as loud as I want it. Nobody's going to care. These speakers that I have, the Klipsch ones, these do not go that loud. However, I can still rock out if I want to, and it sounds really, really good. So again, it can be whatever you have. You can even have one of those, like the portable Crossley record players, or there's another company out there that does them, and a lot of them have that retro look, which I think are totally cool. I did have one of those, and I actually gifted that to a contractor that came out here because his daughter was really into records and she did not have a record player, and obviously they didn't look like they had a lot of money, and I had just sitting around because I bought this new one. So I asked her if she liked it, and she absolutely loved it. So I gave that to her. So let's get right into this so we can get through this video as quickly as possible, because I do have a lot of records to show you. And this is just to give you an idea of, what I've been able to find out there perusing about, going into different places to find these albums. I do have a few 45s as well. Not the collection I had when I was a kid, when my mom gave me all of her 45s. So these are just regular size albums. Okay, so let's get rolling. So I'm going to kind of start with my non-rock collection. This is going to be anything from some 50s music to some jazz. I think there's some classical in here, and then some big band stuff. So I just want you to get kind of a taste of, what I have. I have a lot more of these in this genre than I'm showing today, but I just kind of wanted to give you a taste of what I have. So here's one that's really cool. This is called Jukebox Saturday Night. It's the original Glenn Miller recordings, and of course I absolutely love Glenn Miller. So just a cool old album, and when I buy these, I always pull them out, and I look at them to make sure they're not either super moldy, because sometimes you'll get that, or if they're badly scratched or damaged. I also kind of hold it up like this to see if it's been warped, because if it's warped, guess what? It isn't going to play on your turntable very good. And then I also make sure that what this record is matches to what this actually says it is, because that's not always the case when you go out and you buy these secondhand. So Glenn Miller, it's one of my favorites. Another one that I found, and this one I actually picked up just a few months ago. I think it was like $1 at the Salvation Army. And it is so cool. Why? Because it's Cole Porter. So Cole Porter in percussion. There's another one. Another one of my favorites, Artie Shaw. I absolutely love Artie Shaw. I listen to this one actually quite a bit. So there's that one. And then, of course, here's a big band album. This one, of course, is Tommy Dorsey. Glenn Miller is considered big band. Here's Tommy Dorsey. Absolutely love it. So that's another one of my favorites. And then, of course, this one I did mention in my other video. I think I was talking about things to do by yourself, listening to records or whatever. And this is the Ray Anthony Star Dancing. So this is like some waltzes, some other what they call sentimental favorites. And I when I put this on, I just dance around the room and pretend I'm in this fabulous ball gown and I'm dancing with this elegant man, you know, dressed in a suit and tie. I know, delusional, whatever, keeps us happy. And hey, I'm dancing, right? And then I do have some classical. So this is the Funkin' Wagnalls. They put out albums for different series of things over the years. And there's a bunch in this series. I only have 3 of the albums, and they had more at the thrift store. I just picked up the 3 that I was most interested in. So one of my favorite classical composers is Mozart. And it's the reason why I named my black and white cat Mozart. So here's Mozart. And these are like brand new. I don't think they were ever played. This one is Mendelssohn. This is still sealed, okay? This one was never even taken out of its package. So brand spanking new. And then here's another one of my favorites, Rachmaninoff, the Piano Concerto Number 2 in C minor, Opus 18. It's one of his most famous, Rachmaninoff. Okay, and I did get to see that live at a concert hall when I was living in North Carolina. And I think it was down in South Carolina where I went to go see this. And it was, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's a Russian pianist. And this was like 5 years ago. And he did this Piano Concerto Number 2 in C minor, the first, second, and third movement, obviously. And it was mind-blowing. All right, another one I have. Ooh, this is one of my favorites, too, because I do love opera. I do love going to see the opera. Haven't for years, but I love it. And this is, of course, Puccini, Madame Butterfly. This is really, really nice. And this is a double record, I believe. Double album, yep. And that was like a couple of dollars at a thrift store. And then I probably have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5, these big box sets. And literally, I have found these for like $3 or $4 at the thrift stores. This one is the Great Band era. I have another one up there that is just decades. So there's like one album that goes through music from the 20s, and then another one that has music from the 30s, and then the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. And so this, of course, has, you know, Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, oh my gosh, Fats Waller, Larry Clinton, Freddie Martin, Artie Shaw. So all of the great band favorites from 1936 to 1945. So this is my happy music too. I love this stuff. So there's that. All right, so now we're going to get into some of my, what I call rock and roll. Of course, I grew up with a lot of this stuff. My mom was a rock girl, obviously. I didn't like everything that she was into. Even though I listened to it, like, for example, she was really into Rolling Stones. I still don't like the Rolling Stones. But she was into, like, Sweet and the Bee Gees and, what's the other one? I forget now. Anyways, those I do really, really enjoy. Now, this one I also showed on my other video about things to do when you're by yourself listening to albums, Christopher Cross. And this album is mind-blowingly good. And of course, my favorite song on it is Ride Like the Wind. And I love picking up these random compilation albums. Any of you from the 70s or 80s is going to remember K-Tel Records, right? Look at this. Gold Rush 79. So this has, for example, Time Passages by Al Stewart. I'm going to show you that album. I have that double album here. Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, another one of my very favorite musicians, sadly passed away, I think, back in 2011. Love Jerry Rafferty. Oh my gosh, remember that by Nick Gilder, Hot Child in the City? This is such a great album. Again, picked it up for like 50 cents or $1 at a thrift store. All right, what else we got here? Oh yeah, The Big Prize, Honeymoon Suite. So for those of you that know who they are, congrats. If you don't, give them a listen. They're from Canada. They're one of my favorite bands from the 80s. I just really, really, really enjoy Honeymoon Suite. And you might know Bad Attitude and Feel It Again and What Does It Take. Those are 3 of their most popular songs off of this album, but I love Honeymoon Suite. Listen to that one quite often. Oh, here's another one my mom loved, and I love it too. ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. This is their greatest hits. Picked this up for $4, probably at an antique shop, and it's in pristine condition. And then, of course, another one that I love, thanks to my mom, BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive. So this is best of BTO. Okay. And some of you might know this band, and there's a lot of bands from the 80s that I just never got around to learning about until I got older. This happens to be one of them. I found out about them when I was in I think my 20s or something. It's called Fastway, right? So a lot of you probably know who Fastway is. And let's say, side 2, Say What You Will. So that's, if you've heard that song, you're going to know who this is. And if you heard the song, you don't know who it is, it's Fastway. Something, I've always liked that song, but I never really got into them, when they first came out. It was a little bit later on in life, but got this for $5 at an antique store. And then here's one of my prized possessions. I absolutely love this because I've loved Al Stewart since I was a little kid growing up with my mom, because she really loved Al Stewart. Year of the Cat, Time Passages, right? So I have this double album, and it's Al Stewart live, and it's fantastic. And this one actually has on it, it does have Time Passages, and it does have Year of the Cat on it. And of course, it's got lots of other good songs as well. So I think I picked that up for $8 at an antique store. And then I think I showed you this one on my other video too. I'm going to show it again because it's one of my all-time favorites. It's actually one of the most coveted albums that you can get out there on the market, but it's not expensive. This is a Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, and I paid, what, $8 for it. One of my favorite albums. I love Fleetwood Mac. My mom got me into them too at a very young age. Here's another compilation one that just completely kicks ass. It's another K-Tel album, Rock 80. Yep, totally cool, you guys. So it has Cars by Gary Newman, Cruel to Be Kind by Nick Lowe. Love that song. Wow. And some of those songs aren't very popular, meaning they were kind of like a one-hit wonder band or, individual singer, but the songs were just so damn good, right? Pop Music by M. Love that song. So there you have it. I do have a couple of Journey albums. I'm just going to show you the one I have here. This is Escape. Love this album. And my favorite song of Journey is on this album. It's called Stone in Love. I don't know why. I just love that song, and I love playing it and singing it, even though I'm probably not that good of a singer. I don't care. I just like to sing it. It makes me happy. And then I do have a couple of Dokken albums. This one is Back for the Attack, one of their best albums. I love Dokken. I mean, I love, I love Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden. I like, more heavier metal. I like punk music. I mean, I have CDs because I have a CD thing in my car, right? So I listen to CDs in my car. I can burn them in there. And I have lots of CDs that I listen to as well. But when I'm in my house, I will listen to either my radio, or I'll listen to music on my turntable. You guys, this is the very first album that I bought as a teenager. I still have it. Can you believe that? Stray Cats, Built for Speed. Hell yeah. Love me some rockabilly. Love me some Stray Cats. Can't get enough of Stray Cats. And of course, my favorite song of theirs is Built for Speed. And then I have another one I found. This one I found, I think, like over the winter, and it's their Rant and Rave album, another good album by an iconic rockabilly band. And of course, you can listen to Brian Setzer with his orchestra too. He's fantastic, and he's actually going out on tour. I'm doing some tour dates later on this year. And this one is so much fun. One of my favorite shows, obviously, probably for you too, if you're in that age demographic that I am, Gen Xer, Miami Vice. Exceptional album here. Of course, it's got In the Air Tonight with Phil Collins. And I think that was in the second episode of the first season of Miami Vice. Remember that? Don Johnson cruising down the strip there down in Miami at night, and that song was playing. I remember that. It's crazy the things I can't remember, and then I remember some odd stuff like that. Wonderful album. And then I have Foreigner. I'm a big fan of Foreigner. Seen them. I mean, I've seen a lot of these bands live in concert, but this is Double Vision. It's one of my favorite albums of theirs. So I have Foreigner. And here we go. We have the Bee Gees. So this is the 2 album greatest. And of course, this has a lot of their very, very popular songs like Jive Talking and Night Fever, Tragedy, Staying Alive, Nights on Broadway. I can't put this on and not dance, okay? My mom loves the Bee Gees, as do I. And then this is Kansas. This is the most expensive used vintage album that I have purchased. Now, you can probably buy some of these brand new because they're doing repressings of them. Some of them not, obviously. But for example, you could go out and buy, I think, a brand spanking new Michael Jackson Thriller. That's cool and everything. I don't want to do that. I want when it was actually put out, whenever that was, back in the late 80s or whenever. This one here is the original 1977 album of Kansas, Point of No Return. How flippin' cool is that? This was $24. I thought that was a shitload of money, but apparently not, right? But I had to have it, and it's in pristine condition. So there's that. And then, of course, another one of my favorite, I guess I don't know if you call it a band. I mean, he is a band. He's not like, oh, he's all by himself. It's Donnie Iris, right? Back on the Streets. This is actually a really good album. I love Donnie Iris. What's that song? Aliyah? Woo, yeah, that's really good. And then, of course, here's another cool old, what you call, heavier rock, more of a metal band. Hi, Mozart. This is Saxon. So this is, of course, Wheels of Steel. I got this at a used record store up in Jefferson City. And he has a really good selection of older metal music. So what did this cost? $18.50. So this is kind of pricey, but this is you can't find this one as easily as you could like the Fleetwood Mac Rumors, believe it or not. And then, of course, I think I mentioned this in my other video. These last two. This is Jafria. Absolutely love Jafria, and I've liked them for so many years, and it's always amazing to me when somebody's like, ooh, I've never heard of them. And I'm like, okay, go give them a listen. And they're like, wow, they're really good. So if you've got other bands from like the 80s or the 70s or other, off the wall metal bands, I really like a lot of the metal bands from Europe and stuff like that. And I love all that old school stuff. So if you've got suggestions or other bands that maybe I've not heard of, put those in the comments down below, because that way I can get on the hunt for them. And then, of course, I have Billy Ocean. Suddenly, love Billy Ocean. Makes me feel good music, right? So I'm on the hunt for like Huey Lewis and the News. I want one of their albums. And what else am I looking for? I'm looking for a couple of the older Black Sabbath and some Iron Maiden and probably some older Megadeth. I do like Metallica, but I'm more of a Megadeth fan. That's just me. But yeah, I've got, my wish list. So when I go out hunting around, I just whip it out of my purse and I just kind of scan, and then I'm kind of on the lookout, for those albums. So yeah, that's just my record collection part of it, just to kind of give you an idea of here's what I listen to. And that's not saying you have to listen to that stuff, but it's just fun to do it. And I really like just still spinning my records. All right, you guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel. I've got some other videos coming out on just chit chats about life in general and some other things, and a couple of fashion ones coming up here, and whatever else, you know, I decide that I want to do a video on. So I hope you all have an amazing day wherever you are in this world. Thanks again for you following me, and of course the many comments that I received on my No Friends Being 54 video. I think we're like well over 6,500 comments on there now. It's mind-blowing, and I'm going to do a video talking about that. So stay tuned and take care. We'll see you later. I'm out of here.